Welcome back, everybody. So my next movie review for you is Armageddon. So Armageddon was released on the 7th of August 1998. It was directed by Michael Bay and was produced by Jerry Buckenheimer. It was made on a budget of 553.7 million US dollars and only made 140 million dollars. A dramatic drop for a movie that costs so much to make. Dramatic. It also has quite a stellar cast in the form of Bruce Willis, Liv Tyler, Ben Affleck, Billy Bob Thornton. We also got Owen Wilson, plus Will Patton, plus many, many others. So in this Armageddon movie, NASA observed this pretty large asteroid, probably about the size of Texas, and they only have 18 days before this asteroid hits Earth, and it is basically a global killer. So nothing on Earth will actually survive this, and it is down. Well, NASA then realized the fact the only way to stop this asteroid is to drill and basically blow this apart. In comes a character in the form of Harry Stamper, played by Bruce Willis, who is the world's best oil driller to basically save the day. Now, what do I honestly think about this movie? Yes, this movie is entertaining. I've already said this in my Deep Impact movie review that I prefer Deep Impact over Armageddon. There is a reason for this, which I'm going to get into a little bit later on. But generally, yes, this movie is entertaining. When I did the retrospective trailer review, it seemed like I was kind of hating on this movie. I'm not. I still can sit down and watch this movie. It's just that I prefer Deep Impact over this movie. It's still entertaining. There are quite a lot of visual and special effects in this movie. I'm not going to lie, it has to be for the style of movie that they were trying to portray. The second half of this movie is basically following all the oil riggers, basically traveling to this asteroid in space to stop this. So I get the reason why there's so many special effects and visual effects in this movie. The plotline in this is obviously pretty much self-explanatory. You get this from pretty much the trailer, you get it from the title, you get it pretty early on as well, what they set out to do. There's an asteroid coming, it's going to kill everybody, even bacteria. They have 18 days to stop it and they have to find a way of doing it. They find the way of doing it, and then it's everything about the preparation to basically stopping this asteroid from hitting Earth and basically going to this asteroid to actually carry out their plans. I do like this story, to be fair. There is some quite funny moments in this movie. There is some misplaced comedic moments in this movie as well, I'm not going to lie. It's not enough for me to hate this movie. I do not hate this movie in any way, shape or form. I generally can sit down at any time and watch this. Performances in this movie I actually really do enjoy, even though we pretty much got not Ben Affleck, Bruce Willis playing a Bruce Willis role, so to speak. And to be fair, a lot of his roles are quite universal. A lot of, not all of, before anybody says anything. But he's still playing this bad, hard ass dad and oil rigger who's basically trying to keep somebody in check in the form of Ben Affleck. It's just a classic Bruce Willis kind of role, and he does play this off very well, and I do generally like him in this, to be fair. It's exactly the same with Ben Affleck's performance in here. Now, I was never a huge fan of Ben Affleck's acting when I was younger anyway. It is only when he became Batman I actually really started liking his stuff, to be fair. And it's not because he became Batman, because I was still skeptical of him playing that character. It's just that, you know, he grew on me. He grew on me quite a lot, and it's exactly the same as this one. He does play this quite cocky, arrogant young kiddie who's after Harry Stamper's daughter, who's being played by Liv Tyler. I get it. You know, he's young, he's ambitious, and all that kind of stuff. I see the way they were trying to portray this, and I didn't mind it, to be fair, in any way, shape, or form. It's exactly the same as Billy Bob Thornton, who is a NASA, who pretty much runs NASA. He is extremely worried about this asteroid. He's in doubt whether this will actually work, so to speak. You don't get to see him a huge amount in this movie, not hugely, obviously, but you know, he does add a bit more character to this movie because he's desperately wanting to save everybody on Earth. I said the storyline is predictable because of what it is. there are faults with this movie, but there's not enough for me to really hate this movie. To be honest with you, there are certain things that happen in this movie and go, would that actually really happen? For instance, landing a space shuttle on an asteroid which is traveling, I don't know, probably about 50,000 miles an hour plus. Is it actually possible? Chances of that actually happening? No, I can't see it. And then for them to be actually with just like force and everything going on around, would they be able to drill on an asteroid? No. It's in certain parts this movie is a little bit unrealistic. I get what they were trying to do. I really, really do. But it just seems just slightly unrealistic at the time. Trying to land a space shuttle on an asteroid which is going at X amount of speed and then to try and drill on it, you know, in an ideal world, if that was possible, happy days. But I just can't see it. I just don't think it's even possible to be even done. So yes, okay. So there are some little bits in this movie which are a bit unrealistic, but because of the entertainment value, I kind of overglaze that, to be honest with you, because I do, like I said, I do actually enjoy this movie. Visually, it is a spectacle. Like I said, there are quite. It's heavily reliant, especially on the second half of this movie, on visual effects. Again, like I said, I get it. You can't do a movie like this without that kind of setup or format, but the build up to it is actually really, really good as well. I like the preparation training that they go through on this. It just adds a little bit, there is that kind of comedic kind of camaraderie, and they're not fully, properly, probably understanding exactly the weight that is actually on their shoulders. So it becomes a bit of a joke, but then becomes very, very serious as obviously approaching the asteroid and having to get the job done. If I was to give this, I'm sure there's more about this movie I generally like. To be honest with you, it carries one of the greatest soundtracks of movies. To be fair, done by Liv Tyler's dad. I have to admit, it is absolutely a classic. Um, Other things about this movie, dialogue and just actors and performances. Yeah, majority is good. Comedic factors are good in places and not so good in other places. Now, I think this is because I've watched the movie so many times. I know where these moments are going to be, so I find them less funny anyway. Somebody that's first going to watch this or hasn't watched this before will probably take enjoyment from some of the comedic moments in here, but where I've seen it so many times, I can't I haven't got that laugh factor anymore because I know it's going to be there. There are movies that I watch where I've watched hundreds of times with comedic moments and I still laugh. But this one I generally can't do. It might be because they're a bit misplaced or they're trying to be a bit too funny, and it does add a little bit of levity to this movie because it does carry quite a serious tone. Obviously, they're trying to stop this big asteroid from hitting the Earth. Um, but in certain areas it's just overdone and it takes away the seriousness of what they're trying to do in so it's just at certain points of this movie. There is one character in there which he gets space dementia, and it's almost, again, it's that kind of, it has that unrealistic, yeah, I get the space dementia thing, but there's a certain point where he's riding a nuclear bomb on an asteroid which is traveling at such a high speed. It just these are just little bugbears. Like I said, as a whole, as a general, this is an entertaining movie, and if you haven't seen it, I do actually highly recommend it. I know it seemed like in like the Deep Impact review and like the retrospective trailer reaction I did to Armageddon, that I kind of hated it. I don't. It's entertaining. I can quite happily sit down and watch it. To the point is I've actually got the DVD. It's it is an entertaining watch. If I was to rate this, I would give this a 7, maybe 7.5 out of 10. For all the reasons why I said is the reason why it's going to get a 7.5 out of 10. A few things off, there's a few things which seem a bit unrealistic, but as an entertainment value kind of wise, yes, I can sit down there and watch it. It is heavily reliant on visual and special effects. I get that, like I said, because of the nature of what they're trying to show you in this movie. The downside is how much this movie actually cost to make, which I was meant to mention about at the beginning of this video. So it was made on $553.7 million and only made $140 million. That, in movie terms, is a huge and catastrophic loss in film. Honest to God, it is massive. Honestly, it is absolutely massive. And it's I do feel sorry for him a little bit because they did put in a lot of money into this movie to not gain a lot back. Where Deep Impact was on a smaller budget and actually gained quite a fair bit of money back, to be honest with you. But the thing with Deep Impact is it did get released about 6 months beforehand, so people had already seen this kind of asteroid movie and all that kind of stuff, and I think it might maybe the appeal went, and they were just hoping that the fact that this was going to be a big Hollywood entertainment spectacular would what would get people in the cinema. And I just don't think it worked. To be fair, we already had an asteroid movie earlier on in that year, which even to me, I personally feel that movie is better than Armageddon. But like I said, it's still worth a watch. You probably will if you haven't seen Deep Impact or Armageddon, watch both of them. Come back, tell me what you think. You might actually love Armageddon over Deep Impact. If you do, happy days. Just these are my own personal opinions. So on that note, please tell me what you think. Put it in the comments down below as normal. I hope you all have a great rest of the day. Whatever you're doing, please take care and goodbye.